If love fulfills the law, then the real question is, what is the law? And Romans 13:10 doesn't whisper it, it hands you the blueprint. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. But to understand that, you have to understand what law actually means. And it's not what you were taught. In Scripture, law is nomos, from nemo, meaning to assign, to divide accurately, to arrange reality with precision. In Hebrew, Torah means direction, design, the way creation is structured to function. Not a rule book, not behavior management. Law is the architecture of the earth realm, the ordered structure that holds matter, flesh, boundaries, and cause and effect together. Law is gravity. Law is seasons. Law is sowing and reaping. Law is this plus this equals that. Law is the ordered world your soul incarnated into. It is form, it's frame, structure, the skeleton of creation. And Paul says this structure is holy because without it, everything collapses into chaos. But structure alone is not the goal. A skeleton without breath is still a corpse. That's where love enters. When Paul says love, he says agapē, not emotion, not affection, not chill vibes and good intentions. Agapē is divine, relational love, intentional, covenantal, Christ-shaped love that chooses the highest good of the other, even when the limbic system wants to do something nuts. It is love that overrides instinct, love that governs impulse, love that reforms the flesh from the inside, love that walks into darkness and doesn't flinch because it carries light in its bones. Agapē doesn't imitate Christ. Agapē is Christ, his nature expressed through your nervous system. So what does it mean to say love fulfills the law? Paul uses the word plerou, to fill, to complete, to bring a thing into its mature form. Its pleroma, its fullness, its final shape. In other words, fulfillment is when the blueprint becomes a building, when the structure receives breath, when the form is filled with life. The law is the structure. Love is the fullness. Fulfillment is the marriage of the two. Heaven entering earth. Spirit entering matter. Christ entering you. And psychology nods its head and says, yes, exactly. Because love worketh no ill is not a moral slogan. It's a description of a regulated, integrated human system. Agapē turns on the prefrontal cortex. Agapē calms the amygdala. Agapē strengthens empathy through mirror neurons. Agapē builds new neural pathways of peace through neuroplasticity. Agapē integrates the self, the story, the body. In neuroscience, Love fulfills the law because love brings your entire being into coherent alignment. And a coherent system cannot produce incoherent fruit. That's why love does no harm. Not because you're trying, but because you're integrated. Because the Spirit has filled the structure. Love doesn't replace the law. Love is what the law always wanted to become. Because the law is the shape, the architecture of the earth realm, the form God carved into matter so creation could hold His presence. And God is life, and that life is the light of mankind. The light that enters every human, the spark that breathes in every soul, the image that haunts us back into wholeness. So what is agapē? Agapē is the moment you look at your neighbor and recognize the light within them, the Christ in them, the God-breathed DNA of one God who is all, in all, and through all. Agapē is not a mere affection. Agapē is sight, true sight, the kind that sees the one life echoing through many forms. Agapē is the Spirit recognizing itself in another vessel. Heaven recognizing heaven wearing a human face. And that's why love fulfills the law. Because when you see Christ in them, you cannot harm them. When you see God in them, you step into alignment with the very fabric of creation. When you see the one life that animates all life, your nervous system, your choices, your instincts, your impulses bend toward coherence. Agapē is the pleroma of nomos, the law brought to completion, the form filled with Spirit, the earth realm animated by heaven. Walk in that. And you're not just keeping commandments, you are revealing the life and light of Christ, woven through the human family. You're not obeying the law, you're embodying its final form. Be loved and be loved, beloved.